Good day. With the growing power of the internet, people nowadays have greater capabilities and means in communicating their opinions and ideas throughout the world. Of course, we all know that with this growing power comes great responsibility. Some people believe that the internet should be censored and monitored, while others believe that there is no need for such regulation. Today, we're going to witness a debate about whether the Philippines should implement or legalize internet censorship. On the government side, those who support the legalization of internet censorship, we have the Prime Minister, Mr. Aldrich Mico Soriano, the Deputy Prime Minister, Ms. Olive De Anaro, the government member, Ms. Mardel Casilag, and the government whip, Ms. Tricia Gabriela Indico. On the opposition side, those who do not believe that internet censorship should be implemented here in the Philippines, we have the leader of the opposition, Ms. Princess Jasmine Panya, and the deputy leader of the opposition, Ms. Mariel de Maculangan. We also have the opposition member, Ms. Cheche Alvarez. And lastly, we have the opposition whip, Ms. Cherish Plata. Today, we're going to witness different arguments, stands about the said issue. And now, let us begin the debate.
A pleasant day to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. To the respected speakers, cautious timekeeper, members of the opposite team, and members of the floor. Before I put forward my case today, I would like to define today's motion that this House believes the legalization of internet censorship is a should be in the Philippines. The internet, which just started as a medium of safety and security, has promulgated over the past 2 decades, creating a superhighway of information, commerce, and communication, allowing them to see and hear ideas that were not possible before. We could not deny the fact that children are of high level of curiosity and their inquisitiveness will seek things that shall not be exposed to their innocent minds. Restriction of pornography, images, and videos with adult content is one way to safeguard and to protect the children from malicious materials. With internet censorship, there will be suppression of what can be accessed, published, or viewed on the web in order to alleviate, or better, to totally eradicate offensive and insulting items. Another point to consider is this promotes copyright protection. Downloading of music, videos, and other properties without permission is an illegal activity which internet censorship could hinder us from such an act. Internet censorship could also preserve national security as there are informations that are not to be disclosed and disseminated in order to perpetuate our safety and security. Next is that it reduces online scams. The Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group has recorded a 22% increase in cases about fraud scams as of December 2014 and is currently getting higher and higher. Internet censorship could be the key to impeding the like cases. There would be no room for hackers as internet censorship acts as the sword against identity theft. Personal information, personal finances, and personal identification would be protected as security measures and standards are established. Lastly, below the belt statements, insulting, offensive, and foul words are big no-nos in the internet censorship as it addresses hate crimes and online bullying. You say freedom, it is indeed that freedom, accustomed to people, should come with responsibility. Internet censorship will certainly pave the way towards the attainment of responsible freedom. Before I put down my case, I would like to stress again that this house believes that the legalization of internet censorship is a should be in the Philippines. Thank you.
You said earlier that the legalization of internet censorship or the internet has created a superhighway of information and commerce. So why do the government is even considering implementing internet censorship? Well, in fact, it can be a threat to the superhighway of information and commerce by controlling what can be accessed, viewed, and published?
Thank you for that question. We strongly believe that the legalization of internet censorship does not affect internet being the superhighway of information and commerce. People may still do whatever they want. However, freedom inculcated to them ought to be with responsibility. The government is censoring the internet the same way as they use their power to track down the culprits, for example, when there are illegal transactions or activities. What we just want to say is that there's no difference being online or not. If someone violates rules and regulations in any forms, then he or she should be held accountable and liable. Thank you.
But then again, the government will still be blocking certain areas of the internet that it can be a useful source for some. So that's the thing that is wrong about our government. We are moving backwards. Instead of improving the internet, of becoming more of a superhighway, we are now blocking it. Just like how the legalization of internet censorship is clearly unrelated to our Constitution's notion of free speech. Censoring the internet would mean that the citizens of the Philippines would be under in a closed box where the only words and statements they can say and see are all affirmative to those groups or people that deem it as right. There would be prejudice, biases, and hypocrisy. So why do the Philippines talk about democracy as a general benefit when at the same time they would be banning certain areas of the internet if they see it as a negative criticism? Soon, we will all realize that the freedom that we have today isn't the same freedom that we have before, that our heroes fought for. And as time passes by, the evolving and ever-changing world brought various changes in our capability in accessing, viewing, and publishing, may it be online or not. Today, most of us have equal access to the internet. This strengthens the argument that the internet is one uncontrollable factor, and it would be hard and not to mention costly to be implemented. Internet censorship wouldn't be wisely enforceable because the internet is not just restricted in our country. There are also other countries who are using the internet, and not to mention the 4.5 million Philippine users online. So how will the government govern this population over the media when they have different reasons on why they would want to access the internet? For this main point, it is not very wise to implement such laws and regulations without considering the cost and range of the said implementation. To further emphasize our stand, the Prime Minister of the government side has said a while ago that the legalization of internet censorship would bring forth national security in our country. But by giving out points that it would prevent online scams, hate crimes, bullying, etc., etc. But national security threats doesn't only arise from these situations. There are the Filipino citizens are well known to be mandated by our own constitution that yes, we are indeed free. If the government is to legalize internet censorship, then wouldn't it be more chaotic than before? You see, if the Filipinos would revolt against the government because they would be deprived by their freedom. So rally here, opinions there, chaos everywhere. Wouldn't it be more harmful for our national security if the citizens of our own country are battling against together or each other? Let us state the facts here. Yes, there are some information on the internet that are not really advisable to be seen. But guess what? We have the option to whether avoid what we do not want to see or move towards to what we want to see. You see, it is a matter of choice. Therefore, it shouldn't be imposed. Thank you very much.
You know what is the problem with us Filipinos? We easily swayed by one catchy liners and phrases. How else to describe a person who are better at reacting than responding? And we all know that there's a huge difference between the two because one involves thinking. And that is what we need. Have everyone look at the content of internet censorship aimed to provide? Have everyone reacted to it with profound thinking and sense of understanding? Then if you just did, you should have understood and not tell me this, that internet censorship is about limiting and stopping your privileges picking yourselves with freedom, just like how you perceive it. Everyone must grasp internet censorship issue way far from that, because it is never going to be like that. Internet censorship target the posers, the hackers, the theft of personal information, and the widespread of pornography, but not your freedom of expressing yourselves.
Did you actually think that I would be stating those points without actually reading what internet censorship really is all about? Let us go back to the basics. Internet censorship is the control or suppression of what can be accessed, viewed, or published. So how can you say that you are not depriving or limiting our freedom when what we can access, publish, and viewed are controlled? Have you ever read about the Philippine cybercrime law? Because it has been the first step of the government in making our country an internet-censored country. We're really sure that it is making noise and debates all over the country because the Filipinos are using their minds. If they are not thinking, they would just easily be swayed by the government's what the government wants because they think that it will be correct. But we are not following what the government wants because we are thinking what is correct. That is all.
Obviously, the kind of sites which would be banned are those which perpetuate hatred or attack other groups in society, which falls outside your free speech. Surely we have seen the amount of stupidity, sexism, racism, pornography, and maybe some other which is really inappropriate. If an individual expresses abuse towards another, they may be deemed to be outside of the boundaries or free speech and can be punished for it. And if you would tell me about boundaries being same with limiting your free speech, then we say no, because these boundaries will not harm you, and rather your freedom without boundaries will harm you more. Also having cases of widespread scandals wherein the people involved will ask to block those sites providing it, and those will see cannot be able to tame itself out of their curiosity. Who do you think have been harmed more? In addition, censorship is custom to the power of medium, provided that films and videos are more recognized today compared to newspapers and books. Then, moving pictures and sounds are seriously more graphic and powerful than those texts and illustrations. The one that way more difficult to that is the provision of internet an opportunity to those pornographers and criminals to abuse the medium. Curiosity and habitual of netizens supports it. Therefore, the internet can really be a place of crime. Illegal activities are outnumbered, and the fact that this crime does exist online is seen as validation by many for internet censorship to be in existence. Another concern of the internet is the instances of identity theft. By internet, criminals could get benefits just by stealing your identity. For some, is when you use your credit card to make online purchases. And even huge corporations' names have experienced being used. Additional instance is stealing your name, or simply called poser, who make posting or some actions that would be inappropriate to be considered by people who will see. Those are the work of the online hackers, which by internet censorship, these issues will be cracked down, and level of online security would be savored by the users. Therefore, it is just right to attach the said power and regulation to internet accordingly. Nevertheless, it is really possible to exercise considerable control over the internet and various users. Choice is said, we say it comes with responsibility. So, we incredibly say yes to internet and let be reminded and guided all throughout the use of internet.
It is clear that you pointed out different crimes that may occur due to the provision of internet. There may be existence of identity thefts, online scamming, and even sexually related crimes. But do you even consider or acknowledge the damages that internet censorship may bring to our society? Does internet censorship may reduce the increasing number of crimes that you had stated, or more likely to lead to the citizens' aggressive or violent behavior against this.
With what you said, I want to go back to what internet censorship aims to provide. Internet censorship involves limiting information that can be accessed online and which are not meant to be accessed without permission. Those works are by the hackers, the posters, and the theft of the personal information. By that, do you think we will call those persons with that if they didn't do it on purpose? It is a crime made by those criminals we called, then it is just right to prevent those crimes to take place.
It is true that the internet can be considered as a public display of information and extremely easy for a child to access such information, especially pornographic materials. However, it is also true that children still are exposed to pornography through televisions, radios, magazines, and so on. Minors can obtain such materials without accessing the internet at all. In reality, only a very small portion of the internet contains offensive material. The majority do not also use internet for pornography. In short, most of the people use the internet for communication and information exchange rather than for sexual gratifications. Besides, sooner or later, these children will be exposed to everything from which they have shielded them. These children will be left alone to deal with the shocking sight and sound despite the moral fiber that their parents helped them to cultivate. Therefore, it is inconsistent to ban internet equivalents because it will definitely not solve the problem. Furthermore, censorship is fundamentally incompatible with the notion of free speech. Censoring particular material conceptually blinds the public to access information that can somehow help in innovating one's life. Free speech should not be limited, even if expression of negativity. It should be publicly debated and logically criticized rather than hidden altogether. Besides, the internet was made to be free so that anyone could share the ideology that they wish. Censorship of the internet would be a heavy-handed attempt to impose restrictions on the internet, and it could kill the spirit of cooperative knowledge sharing information that makes the internet valuable to millions. Freedom of expression is what makes the internet important and enjoyable and should not be waived for any reason. By suppressing our right to share our ideas, we are suppressing our right to our freedom. Restricting our freedom of speech and freedom of self-expression is ultimately a violation of our basic human rights. Yes, I acknowledge the negatives, but there is much more positives from freedom of speech than censorship. Moreover, the internet is a free domain and cannot be controlled by the government. Given that the internet is used as an international and public domain, public space, the government has no right over the information which may be presented via the internet. As such, asserting false authority over the internet would paint the government as dictatorial and a non-state demonstrating a lack of respect for its citizens by assuming that they cannot protect themselves or recognize the nature of potentially harmful sites and take the individual decision to distance themselves from such sites. Moreover, implementing a censorship system, either small scale within a facility or large scale within a government, takes time and resources. Just imagine how much are the cost of the labor and equipment needed in order to set up a filter, firewall, or other form of censorship. Besides, the system also needs to be maintained and occasionally upgraded and repaired as time goes by. So why can't we just spend this money to more important issues than censorship? For these stated reasons, we believe that censoring the internet is technically impossible and the government should not encourage internet censorship in the Philippines.
I can't figure out what do Filipinos really want. From what you have said a while ago, that our government will be like a non-state if internet censorship will be implemented in the Philippines only proves that the government we have today cares like a noni who tend to be a mother to us. Try to think of it. When did a noni, a mother, ever harm her family? What do Filipinos really want? Are you trying to say that our government must stop caring, must stop implementing laws that will definitely diminish and eradicate the risk and the danger that its nation might experience? When
Do a government that care be a disparaging government?
I stated our government would be like a nanny state when the internet censorship is implemented, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we should not be totally governed by them. I didn't say that the government must stop caring, must stop creating laws that can somehow help our society. But what I mean was, the government must know its limitation because, as a matter of fact, we usually make better decisions for ourselves rather than government would. Most of us would probably agree that there ought to be limits on how the government could interfere with our choices for our own good. Besides, as I have said a while ago, if the government is perceived as having excessive control over the welfare of the citizen, it would show a lack of respect because it shows that we couldn't protect ourselves from the negativity that the internet brings.
Nobody can deny how valuable and beneficial the internet is, especially in today's generation. The definitions authored by the first three speakers is already enough to prove its undying worth. But everything has its flaw. Even this complex and so-called creator of superhighway information, commerce, and communication has flaws. The inventor of the internet is the man, and the destroyer of this so-called superhighway will also and always be a man. Nobody could repudiate that the internet is already been entered by immature men who only aims to destroy in order to gain attention. And I think, and our house think, that the internet censorship is the only answer to get away the power that the hackers and the posters have that let them pollute the vibrant purpose of the internet. This pollution spreading out in the internet gives rise to different effects of it. It is not new to everyone that pornography had dominated numerous sites in the internet. This has undoubtedly exerts negative influence in the mind and the soul of the people. Some even try to create distinct web page to display this malevolent and malicious content. Censorship aims to protect the vulnerable population of men from this kind of harm. Most suitable example are children. From what you have said, previous speaker, children are now being raised in a world where having internet access is a given, and such, they are quite proficient when it comes to using the web page to gain access to these certain images and videos. A curious mind will always tend to seek what is forbidden. With censorship, we will be able to construct a wall that will distance the innocent from the temptations that is opposite from their age. You are saying that internet isn't the only way that the child may obtain such pornographies. Why won't we give the floor to the parents whose main role is to create the virtues, the ethics, and the values in the heart and the mind of the children? You are saying that the internet is not the only way that the child would have access to obtain such pornographic image, videos, and stories. But why won't we give the floor to the parents whose only role is to create values and virtues in the heart and the mind of the children? After we have lessened the load that the parents may carry in order to establish such merit. Furthermore, pornography is not the only pollutant of this internet. Cyberbullying also occupied a big role to this. Cyberbullying, in accordance to the definition given by a reliable resource, is the harming or harassing via information technology networks in a repeated and deliberative manner. According to U.S. legal discipline definitions, cyberbullying could be limited to posting rumors or gossips about a person in the internet, bringing about hatred in the heart of the victim. Or it may go to the extent of personality identifying victims and publishing materials, severely defaming and humiliating them. With increasing number of technology usage, online bullying cases had grew outnumbered. This harassment had certain effects to the victim, specifically and especially to his or her psychological aspects. It may lead to stress, unhandled depression, emotional anxiety, strains that would even, at worst, end up suiciding. As per the case of American citizens Megan Taylor Mayer and Tyler Clementi. The two have separate cases, but both end up killing themselves in order to end up the humiliation they had been experiencing in online or in the internet. Megan Taylor Mayer had received SMS from an identity theft pretending as her friend, saying that no one or nobody wanted to be her friend, that everybody knows how bad she is. The suspect, who happens to be the parent and the guardian of one of her friends, even told her that the world will be better without her. Again and again. Under such circumstance, psychological and emotional crisis stroke Mayer. Suicide happens to be her answer. So, back to the point of our debate. Are we going to wait for another set of cases? Is internet censorship not the solution for these detrimental cases? Censorship only intends to avoid online violence and online murders. Some users take advantage of internet to carry on internet violence. The users may insult, exploit others, and expose others' privacy, which will bring about harm to the victims. Many famous personalities are the victim of internet ferocity, which can even root the outcome of suicide. Some websites make use of internet illegally, which can bring baneful impact and portend people's life security. Internet murders happen through social networking sites. There are some suicide websites that give about suicide methods, how to kill themselves, and such. The existence of all these catastrophic incidents makes the internet censorship necessary. Internet censorship can limit internet violence, prevent unjustified denouncement, and protects people's life security. We do not need to wait for another life to be wasted, or other feelings to be humiliated, or another mind to be bombarded. We seriously need internet censorship. The thoughts that you have, second speaker, that this censorship suppress your freedom of expression is not really the purpose of the censorship. Rather, is to suppress the growth of the mortification happening in the internet. Never be afraid if the sites will be banned or things that will be censored. Why not be thankful that the reason of someone's despair that might turn to everyone's thus will be vanished? Isn't it good news? If a certain site is used properly with what you are saying significant expression, it will never be debarred. I agree with my co-host said, freedom comes with responsibility. Remember, a fish gets caught once they open their mouth. Be cautious. Your word might be a cause of one's dead heart. And lastly, to clear the points that the opposition threw upon us, internet censorship never had a thought to kill the freedom of expression, but instead is imposing expression with consideration. If we will just focus in our gratification of expression and do not exert attention to the arising cases of violence of this so-called expression, we will be flooded by more serious problem. Our labor will be greatly affected. Moreover, as you say, implementation of internet censorship is costly. Even the idea of the government is trying to sacrifice a great part of its budget, knowing that the glitches internet censorship is trying to diminish and totally eradicate are badly serious just to secure the safety of its nation. The cost that will be allocated here is never wasted, rather is apportioned well, and we will just be waiting soon for the profit that will be earned of this a portion. With the points that I hardly voiced out, definitely Philippines must practice the internet censorship for a well-secured nation with formulation of considerate and disciplined Filipinos.
We too don't want to proliferate pornography. We too don't want cases of cyberbullying and even illegal activities. If only those are the things that will be banned through this internet censorship, maybe now I'm on your side supporting your claims. Is cybercrime law not enough? Yes, you said that curious minds will always tend to seek what is forbidden. No matter how hard the government and other authorities censor or ban malicious sites, they will always try to make a way to have it. Why, instead of wasting time and budget for this censorship, why they didn't just formulate laws or other projects that will help the children to become aware at their very young age about these issues?
Your second question had already answered your first question. You said that these curious minds will always tend to seek, and no matter what happened, will seek and seek and seek this malicious site. So that's why we really need internet censorship. We really need to control the sites that is producing this malevolent and malicious imagery and videos in order to display what is rightfully and what is really appropriate to the age of the children, which cannot cope up with what is really for their age.
Based on what you said, then what are the things that the government will consider in eliminating and keeping aside? What will be their basis? Only those that is good in the eyes and ears of a certain group in the economy? What if another group disagree with this? Knowing that our culture and beliefs are relative, what is morally acceptable to a group may be unacceptable to others, which is to censor and which is not. This will be very hard on the part of government and other authorities who will evaluate and make decisions on different sites. This will only require lot of efforts from them on weighing which and which is not to censor, but also needs a great patience and will take a lot of their time. Yes, they may block an acceptable site, but another site may emerge again. Then the government will block again this site, but another will emerge again, going back again to the process. Since internet is a very vast place, this law will be very difficult to enforce. Also nowadays, there are a lot of sites which provide harmful at the same time useful content to users. It is hard to revoke all the awful content found in the internet without getting rid of the useful information. Access to vital information will be limited. How about if students need to search about a controversial topic such as sexuality? They will not be able to gain all the information they need just because certain sites that's supposed to give it to them are already blocked. Why did everyone has to suffer just because of the responsibility of some? Internet censorship will deprive this generation the information that can help them learn and compete with others who have access to those data. Even businesses will also be greatly affected. Internet is widely used by business to promote their products because of its convenience and has served as a global meeting place. If there is a censorship, possible consumers cannot be all accessed. For example, Facebook will be banned. A lot of online business will be affected and may possibly lose over 34 million possible consumers who were Facebook users. If Philippines wants to compete globally, possessing information about the trends and happenings on the market will serve as a great armor. Especially now that there are lots of innovations that are making noise in the corporate world and the countries continue to globalize, a lot of information is necessary and limitation for accessing it will be a great disadvantage for our economy. How can we go to the top if we are the ones who put limitations on what we can possibly have? Internet has become part of everyday routine tasks of many citizens. Internet is considered as one of the best technological advancements in history. Why would we waste this kind of blessing just because there are some who took advantage of this? Is internet censorship our last option?
As our team aforementioned of all those things, we stand together and believes that the internet censorship is more of morality, protection, and for the common good of the netizens of our country. Internet censorship might be too broad and too powerful as it may seem to you, but it is for the sake of each individual who has an access in the internet. It also brings a lot of important benefits to us as we live into this fast-changing, developing world. Censoring things that are considered to be offensive, immoral, harmful to society, etc., are right and just. Social networking sites have been purposely used to harm others. Cyberbullying victims lead in committing suicide in extreme cases. Both physical and psychological damage occurred through the use of social networking sites, so such sites represent a danger to society as a whole. As our government has this duty of care to its citizens and must ensure their safety, censoring such sites is the best way to achieve this. Internet censorship filters the inappropriate online and protect children from disturbing websites such as child pornography, sexual violence, and detailed instructions in crime or drug use. Illegal download of music, movies, and other properties is another area of censorship which helps to protect the rights of those who own this. Censorship laws are primarily security laws that establish standards for websites that allows greater security measures in protecting them from hackers. It also makes more difficult for a person's identity to be stolen. Proper censorship laws backed up with website security can significantly reduce this kind of matters. Our government strives to set laws for the benefits of all. Censoring internet content could even more help our country to eliminate these unlawful and detrimental things in our country. Again, ladies and gentlemen, this House supports the implementation of internet censorship here in the Philippines.
Internet made this scattered community united with a quick and efficient manner. The ubiquity that internet introduced will be removed when it is censored. Censorship takes too many forms like the instances in different nations. Internet censorship can be ineffective, taken too far, or used for personal agendas. So, this must be prevented. To consider the stand of this House, censoring internet is never a fair action of a democratic country, with the limitations and hardships it can give to its citizens, who are now active users of the modern lifestyle. This action will blind the people to a complete worldview by bouncing the sources and information that we actually need. The government can stop what we must know if ever the censorship thing is present. This includes the banning of any websites that may harm their reputation, as such cases present in countries with censored internet such as China. As a democratic state, we are all entitled to freedom of expressing what we really wanted to, even if it brings negative feedbacks, and these expressions can be handled by enough control. Our heroes defend our country to have freedom, and we will just let it slip away just because of a mere incident in the social media. Thus, this House believes that censoring internet is fundamentally incompatible with the notion of free speech. Internet was made to give ease to anyone and not to be controlled by elected officials in the government. Government false authority in the internet will produce more stain on their not so good image in the public, looking like they are dictatorial even though they are really not. This will give more gaps between the citizens and its officers. This dictatorial action will violate the rights of any people living in our democratic country, the right of expression and the right of freedom. From general to specific groups in our country, each needs enough resources and enough infos for their objectives in life or for their group. Students like us will be limited to data that might be found to block websites, as maybe these websites violate another group of people. We will be punished in an indirect way, and that will never be right. If ever the student will look for any controversial topic like sex and drugs, he can have access and will be limited to just a handful of information
rather than from having a worldwide number of infos. Another group that will be affected too much is the corporate world. Business can't be advertised to international consumers because of some blocked websites that can introduce their product. These businesses have a lot of needed information to obtain what are their future success, but they will be caught off guard due to unknowingly censored sites. Nowadays, we rely ourselves to any information found in the internet. It provides us quality data in a snap. We can let that go. The overall project of censoring our internet will cost too much, and this house believes that if that thing will really need a huge amount of money, why not just place it to proper projects involving community development and nationwide development like our education system and especially our agricultural side? With contrast to your statement, our house believes that safety is not just found in good events and positive outputs, but it is found in the risk of everyone. Social medias and websites are just like that. The real and common people interacting. It is just put in a mini gadget that anyone must use in order to connect nonstop. So censoring internet is like censoring your uncle or maybe censoring your classmate. They may have these good and bad effects on you, but they are needed in your life. You have pointed out that someone mighty may lure out someone low profiled, and this can cause danger to anyone that will become a victim. But it does not make sense. We are in control of our beliefs and perceptions. There will never be a victim if one never acts as a victim. We have the right of freedom and we can use it wisely. We must. Thus, these cybercrime are just like any problem that can be solved, even it might take longer or harder. And internet censorship is not an option. Anyone must not suffer on anyone's guilt. Discipline is not found on forced rules. In fact, it creates growling tigers in many. This house analyzed and made it a point that censorship is not what our country needs to solve. Any short or long-term cases of abuse in the internet, there will always have a certain solution that will fit the problem and its needs. Millions of Filipinos using internet will support this stance, and any inevitable act against the internet is not much welcomed. Censoring internet would not prevent anyone from doing what they want. Instead, they will be more eager to defend what they believe and can look for ways to do what they want. And this always results to worse stuffs, worse than what they do yesterday. With all that argument, this house does not support internet censorship and its entire mate.
No matter which side you choose to be on, it cannot be denied that there were valid points made by both schools of thought. Again, this has been a debate about the legalization and implementation of internet censorship here in the Philippines. Thank you for being a part of this scholarly discussion. Have a great day.